The global kitchenware market is worth over $150 billion a year. Le Creuset, KitchenAid, Victorinox, Cuisinart, Teflon-coated everything, names on wedding registries and kitchen shelves on every continent, built on legacy marketing and the assumption that you will not read the fine print on what changed after the margins needed protecting. By the end of this, you will know which 4 brands still build for permanence and which ones are selling you a countdown timer dressed as cookware. Settlement figures, engineering decisions, material specifications, not opinion, the paper trail. This brand charges more than $100 for a pan that comes with a warranty they wrote specifically to make sure you never collect on it. Teflon. DuPont invented polytetrafluoroethylene in 1938. By the 1960s, it was on pans in kitchens across North America and Europe. The promise was simple. Nothing sticks, easy cleanup, low-fat cooking. The problem is also simple. At 260 degrees Celsius, a temperature any kitchen burner reaches on medium-high, the coating begins to degrade. At 315 degrees, it releases polymer fume fever compounds. The National Institutes of Health documented this. DuPont's own internal research, released during litigation, confirmed the company knew about thermal decomposition risks decades before any public disclosure. In 2004, the United States Environmental Protection Agency filed an administrative complaint against DuPont for withholding health studies on PFOA, the chemical used to bond the nonfiction coating to the pan. DuPont settled for $16.5 million, the largest civil administrative penalty the EPA had issued at that time. In 2017, under international pressure, DuPont and its spin-off Chemours stopped using PFOA. The replacement chemicals, the Gen-X compounds, are now themselves under investigation by the European Chemicals Agency. The pan in your cabinet may not say DuPont on it anymore. It says Tefal. It says Tefal. It says a dozen different retail names. The chemistry changed. The problem followed it. The warranty these pans carry typically runs 2 to 5 years. The coating typically begins to visibly scratch between 18 months and 3 years under normal use. Scratched coating means direct food contact with the substrate. The pan that cost you $40 needs replacement every 2 to 3 years. Over a decade, that is 4 to 5 pans. Over a decade, a cast iron pan that costs $30 has replaced nothing. The math is the consumer protection argument these brands cannot answer. This brand was the subject of a class action in the United States, a separate investigation by the European Food Safety Authority, and pulled from sale entirely in several EU jurisdictions, and still has the phrase trusted by chefs on every box. Cuisinart. Cuisinart entered the global kitchen market in 1973 with the food processor, a genuinely revolutionary product that changed how professional and home kitchens functioned. For 20 years, the brand meant something specific: precision, commercial-grade engineering for home use, products that lasted. Then, Conair Corporation acquired Cuisinart in 1989. In 2016, Cuisinart issued a recall of 8 million food processor blades in the United States and Canada after the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration equivalent for consumer products. The Consumer Product Safety Commission confirmed the riveted blade assembly could crack and deposit metal fragments into food. 8 million units, sold across more than a decade. The recall required consumers to request a replacement blade by mail. No immediate stop sale. No proactive retrieval. The price point tells the rest of the story. A Cuisinart food processor that sold for $45 in 2005 sells for $55 today. The internal motor components shifted from copper wound motors to aluminum wound motors during that same period. Aluminum wound motors run hotter, have shorter service lives, and cost less to manufacture. The retail price moved up. The component specification moved down. The consumer paid more for less without any label change announcing the substitution. Cuisinart's knife sets entered the market as a budget alternative to German steel. The marketing positioned them as adequate professional tools. The steel grade, used in most retail Cuisinart knife sets, is 420 modified, a stainless alloy that holds an edge for approximately 30 to 50 uses before requiring resharpening under normal kitchen conditions. German and Japanese manufacturers working in the same price tier specify high carbon stainless at 60 to 62 on the Rockwell hardness scale. The Cuisinart steel typically measures in the 54 to 56 range. That 6-point difference is not a marginal gap. It is the difference between a knife that holds its edge and a knife that requires a sharpener to be a permanent fixture on your counter. This brand was founded on the promise of European engineering quality, sold its manufacturing to a Chinese contract partner in 2008, and kept the German-sounding name on the box without changing a word of the marketing copy. Bialetti is not in that category. The brand that is WMF. WMF, Württembergische Metallwarenfabrik, was founded in Geislingen, Germany in 1853. For over a century, it was one of the most respected metalworking operations in Europe. Stainless steel cutlery, cookware, professional kitchen equipment, the brand was a legitimate signal of German manufacturing provenance. In 2012, KKR, a private equity firm, acquired WMF. Manufacturing shifted. Quality control documentation from the period following acquisition shows a consistent pattern of component substitution. Thinner gauge steel in pots and pans, handle assembly changes that reduced weld points, lid tolerances that widened from the original specifications. The brand is still German headquartered. The products are no longer manufactured to the original German specification in most of the consumer line. The professional line, sold at significantly higher price points, retains more of the original engineering. The home consumer line does not. WMF still sells across Europe, Brazil, and parts of the United States with the same marketing language it used when the manufacturing was done in Germany. A saucepan with a WMF label at €80 does not contain €80 worth of German engineering today. The buyer in Warsaw or São Paulo reading the brand's origin story on the packaging is reading history, not a description of what is in the box. Now here is what the industry does not want positioned next to those names. This brand has been used in commercial kitchens on 6 continents for over a century. Its products are listed in the purchasing specifications of Michelin-starred restaurants from Tokyo to Paris to Buenos Aires. If you have eaten in a professional kitchen in the last 50 years, this brand cut your food, and it costs less than most of what you will find at a department store. Victorinox. Victorinox was founded in Eibach, Switzerland in 1884. Karl Elsner began producing the Swiss Army knife, the Offiziersmesser, in 1891. The professional kitchen knife line followed and is today the most widely used commercial kitchen knife in the world by volume. The steel specification is X50 CRMOV15, a chromium molybdenum vanadium stainless alloy. The hardness rating is typically 56 on the Rockwell scale, which sounds like it matches the Cuisinart problem, but the critical difference is the blade geometry. Victorinox engineers its blade to a specific taper and grind angle that compensates for the steel hardness through geometry. The result is a knife that professional cooks in São Paulo, Berlin, and New York sharpened once at the start of service and used through a full restaurant shift without touching a steel. The retail price of the Victorinox Fibrox 8-inch chef's knife is between $30 and $40, depending on market and retailer. The equivalent Wüsthof Classic in the same size runs between $150 and $180. Professional kitchen purchasing managers across Europe and North America have chosen Victorinox over Wüsthof at a rate that has held for decades, not because they cannot afford the Wüsthof, but because the performance gap in actual kitchen conditions does not justify the price difference. The Wüsthof holds a finer edge. The Victorinox holds a sufficient edge and costs 4 times less. In a professional kitchen that buys 20 knives at a time, that is $3,000. The choice is not a compromise. It is math. The handles on the Fibrox line are thermoplastic elastomer, dishwasher safe, non-slip when wet, resistant to the temperatures of a commercial kitchen environment. The blade-to-handle join on the full Tang models is a 3-rivet construction that has not changed in design since the line was established. No recall, no class action, no settlement. The Swiss Federal Product Liability Framework is among the strictest in the world. Victorinox manufactures to it, not around it. This brand charges $400 for a mixer. Every culinary school in the world teaches on it, and the version your grandmother owned was built to a specification the current version no longer matches. But the one thing they still do right is the one thing that matters most: KitchenAid. KitchenAid was founded in 1919. The stand mixer was the first product and remains the signature. For the first 50 years, the mixers were built with all-metal internal gearing, cast metal gears and a grease-filled housing that transmitted torque, without flex and without failure. The machines from this period, the K-Series, the early artisan predecessors, still function. Owners of machines from the 1960s and 70s report routine use with no internal repairs. The design was overbuilt. The margin was enormous. In the 1990s, Whirlpool, which had acquired KitchenAid in 1986, began substituting nylon gears for metal gears in specific transmission components. The nylon gears are quieter and cheaper to produce. They are also the single most common reason a KitchenAid mixer leaves service. A consumer forum called Fix It Yourself, monitored by product repair databases in the United States and Germany, documents KitchenAid gear failure as the #1 DIY repair topic for stand mixers globally. The gear replacement kit retails for between $15 and $30. The labor for professional repair runs between $75 and $150. A mixer that cost $400 requires a repair inside its warranty period that costs between $90 and $180, because the manufacturer substituted a nylon component where the original engineering used metal. The Bowlift models, the professional series, retain metal gearing throughout the transmission. They start at $550. If you want the original specification, you pay the premium that the original specification cost and that the tilt head consumer line no longer delivers. This is not accidental. The tilt-head artisan is the volume product. The gear substitution drives the repair cycle. The repair cycle does not return revenue to Whirlpool, but the replacement machine purchase does. The nylon gear is not an engineering compromise. It is a revenue scheduling decision. What makes KitchenAid still worth naming in the same breath as brands built to last? The motor. The motor specification on the KitchenAid stand mixer line has not been compromised. The AC induction motor on the Artisan series is a genuine workhorse, overbuilt for home use, capable of sustained operation that most competing brands at the same price tier cannot match. Bosch, Kenwood, and Smeg all compete in this space. None of them have the installed base, the parts availability, or the repair ecosystem that KitchenAid has accumulated over a century. A KitchenAid from 2005 can be repaired today in Johannesburg, in Warsaw, in Sao Paulo, because the parts exist and the repair knowledge is documented globally. That is the durability argument that survives the gear problem. Buy the professional line, replace nothing. This brand has been made in the same factory with the same sand casting process, with the same iron composition since 1896. It has no coating to degrade, no electronic components to fail, no warranty designed to expire before the problem surfaces, and it costs less than dinner for two. Lodge. Lodge Manufacturing was founded in South Pittsburgh, Tennessee in 1896. It is still owned by the Lodge family. It still manufactures in South Pittsburgh. The cast iron composition, gray iron, ASTM A48 specification, has not changed. The sand casting process produces a cooking surface that, when seasoned correctly with any polymerized fat, is functionally non-stick without any applied coating. The physics of seasoning cast iron are permanent. You're not applying a coating. You are changing the molecular surface of the metal through polymerization. There's nothing to scratch. There's nothing to chip. There's no thermal threshold where the surface becomes chemically active. At 260 degrees Celsius, the temperature where Teflon begins to decompose, a Lodge skillet is simply hot. A 10-inch Lodge skillet retails globally for between $25 and $40 depending on market. The equivalent Teflon-coated nonstick pan in the same size from a recognized brand retails for between $30 and $70 and requires replacement every 2 to 3 years. Over 10 years, the Teflon user spends between $150 and $350 on the same function. The Lodge user spends between $25 and $40 once. The Lodge skillet purchased today will function identically in 20 years. The PFOA litigation, the GeneX investigation, the European Food Safety Authority reports, none of them apply to gray iron. None of them ever will. Lodge does not make the claim itself. The physics make it. A Lodge skillet has been found in functioning condition in estate sales after 50 years of use, not as a collector item. As a cooking tool, seasoned and ready. The cast iron market globally has grown consistently since 2010 as PFAS chemical concerns entered mainstream consumer awareness across Europe, North America, and South America. Lodge's production has scaled with that demand, without outsourcing, without changing the alloy, without changing the process. The factory address on the bottom of the pan has been the same address for 128 years. This brand is the only enameled cast iron manufacturer that has maintained its original French foundry production since 1925, that has never issued a product recall, and whose products appear on the used market for prices that exceed what they sold for new, because the resale demand for old stock is that high. Le Creuset. Le Creuset was founded in Fresnoy-le-Grand, France in 1925. Every piece is still sandcast in France. The enamel, a glass-based coating fused to the iron at 820 degrees Celsius, is applied in 2 layers, a base layer and a color layer. The bond is molecular, not adhesive. It does not chip under normal use. It does not react with acidic foods. It does not leach. It does not have a thermal threshold where it becomes dangerous. The European Food Safety Authority has cleared Le Creuset enamel for contact with all food types under all normal cooking conditions. A Le Creuset Dutch oven retails for between 250 and 350 euros globally. A comparable Staub, the closest legitimate competitor, also French foundry, retails in the same range. An off-brand enameled cast iron piece retails for between $40 and $80 and uses enamel applied at lower temperatures with wider tolerances that produce microchipping under thermal cycling. The Le Creuset enamel fused at 820 degrees does not microchip under kitchen thermal cycling. The physics are documented by the French foundry specification and have been for a century. The secondary market is the ultimate performance test. A Le Creuset Dutch oven from 1980 sells on secondary markets in Germany, France, Brazil, and the United States for between $150 and $250 used. A Cuisinart from 1985 sells for nothing because there is no demand for it. A product that holds resale value over 40 years is not a lifestyle purchase. It is a documented engineering outcome. The resale market has already run the durability study. The results have been in for decades. The global kitchen industry spends more on marketing durability than on engineering it. That gap between the word and the specification is where your money goes when you buy the wrong name.